Hi there, Sydney Brown. We are going to talk today about book descriptions. Now, this may seem inconsequential, unimportant, trivial even, because, the real writing is in the book, right? Yes, but if you don't get someone to pick the book up or buy the book and start reading it, no one's ever going to know that you have a great book. They will never know. So trust me when I say this, your book description or book blurb, as it's often called, can be your secret weapon to attracting readers. So here we go. We're going to talk about this a little bit because a well-crafted blurb is absolutely crucial to drawing potential readers to your book. It's your chance to intrigue and captivate them and inspire them to choose your book over everybody else's. Not very many readers have an unlimited time or unlimited budget, so they have to make a choice. Your description is going to help them choose yours. All right, so we're going to start first by talking about the 10 things that you should keep in mind and you should do when writing an engaging book description. And then we're going to talk about the 10 things that you should not do. So let's start with what you should do. Number 1, captivate the essence of the story. Give your reader, your potential reader, a clear sense of what the book is about and capture the mood, the tone, and the central theme. Number 2, identify the conflict. In every story, there should be some sort of a conflict. Your reader knows that, and that's what they want to know. They want to look at your blurb and see, is this a story that I would get into? So highlight the primary conflict or the problem that drives the story. Let them know. Number 3, introduce your characters. Now, you don't want to introduce all of your characters, but your primary character or two, present your main characters in a way that, shows the importance of who they are in that story. Number 4, use emotional hooks. Use language that stirs up the curiosity or the emotions of whatever your story is about to captivate, potential readers. Number 5, keep it brief. Now, I've seen some descriptions where there is just paragraphs and you're like, holy cow, I feel like I've read it already. You don't want to do that. You want to keep it brief. Each reader, potential reader, is going to give your book maybe, 30 seconds to a minute to decide if this is something that intrigues them enough to pick it up and buy it. 150 to 200 words should be about the good range for you to ensure that it's quick and easy to read, and it gives them enough time that it's not just like 10 words. You give them enough to make them curious. Number 6, avoid spoilers. So sometimes I've read a description when it says, but will Mary fall off a cliff or will she learn to fly? Something like that. Of course, I just made that up. But if you give them the cliffhanger already, then did you just maybe talk them out of buying it? So don't give any spoilers. Give a taste of the plot without revealing any of the major twists. Number 7, use powerful language. Now, you want to use the compelling adjectives, strong verbs that evoke the imagery. Draw the picture for your reader. Number 8, tailor your language. You want to speak directly to your target so they know that, they're trying to decide, is this something that they're going to relate to? Number 9, obviously, show, don't tell. Instead of saying that the book is thrilling, maybe put in a little excerpt of some of, like a paragraph or 2 or 3 sentences, something that is just a snippet that will demonstrate one of the great exciting parts of your story. And then number 10 of what to do, edit and refine. This is just like your story. Your story required, going through, writing it, going back, reworking, revising, moving things around, shifting, rereading, putting it through someone else's set of eyes to see if it's good. Give that same attention to your description. What I've seen a lot is people will put all their time in the story itself, and then they have this very kind of description, and people will never see it. Don't do that. Give that the same attention. Now we're going to talk about the top 10 mistakes that you want to avoid when writing book descriptions. So number 1 to avoid is being vague. Don't be so mysterious that the readers have no idea what in the world you're even talking about. Give them enough that they know, is this the right genre for them? Is this the category that they like to read? Is it romance? Is it, give them enough so that they can decide. Number 2, don't overpromise. Avoid making promises about your book that the content can't deliver. Don't write checks that your story can't cash. Make sure that whatever you tell them is something that they'll find inside. Number 3, don't overuse cliches. They make the book seem unoriginal, uninteresting, and most readers are like, yeah, I've probably already read 20 stories like this, and then they'll just put it down. Make sure that you're being very clear and unique. Number 4, don't write a synopsis. This isn't a book report. This isn't a situation where you're telling your best friend, in 3 paragraphs what happened in the story so they don't have to read it for themselves. You want your reader to read it. So this is not a synopsis. This is a description and a teaser to get the interest built up. Number 5, don't use passive voice. Make sure that because passive sentences, they make your blurb seem dull, uninteresting, and your reader is definitely, they're like, that's has been, nothing here. Number 6, don't neglect your audience. Now, you always want to keep in mind who your book is for when you also write the description. So just like you wrote your story, you're writing it to your reader. Absolutely the same thing when you're writing your blurb. You want to make sure that you're talking to your ideal reader, because if your ideal reader reads that, they're going to be like, oh yeah, this is me. But if somebody else reads it who may not like it, like let's say that someone who likes steamy romance, if you allude that there's something really romantic, maybe a little hot, a little steamy, but your story is actually a young adult, story about, that has nothing to do with a steamy romance. You don't want to lead your potential reader down the wrong path. So make sure that you write it to your ideal reader, and then anyone who's not interested, you don't want them to read it necessarily because they won't be happy with it. Number 7, don't ignore your competition. Make sure that in your category of the book that you're publishing, that you look at the successful book descriptions, look at the blurbs of the best sellers, and model that. Don't copy it, but model it. The length, the how they do the language. Are they talking to the reader? Are they doing a third person? How is it built? And look at that, because the reader expectations in your category are that it look like similar to what those bestsellers are, because that's what made them bestsellers potentially. Number 8, typos and errors. Treat this with as much respect as you do your manuscript, potentially more so, because if there's typos or spelling errors and stuff in your description, your reader, potential reader, is just going to assume that the inside of your story is probably garbage if you've got typos all over the place of your description. So be very careful about that. Number 9, don't ignore the format. Now, what I mean by that is the world is short attention span now. We scroll constantly when we read books. Not always, but many of us have limited amount of time that we're going to be able to dedicate to that, and we want to experience that journey without feeling burdened. And so you want to make sure your format has smaller paragraphs, smaller sentences. You're not writing Shakespeare, you're writing great fiction, or if it's a memoir, you're writing a great story. Make it something that your busy reader can follow along with and not have to reread a paragraph 3 or 4 times before they actually understand what you're saying. Number 10, don't be too humble. It's important that you show what your book's strengths are. Don't be afraid to say, this is an incredible story about, and really drive it home that what your reader is looking for, they're going to find in your book. So, mastering the art of book descriptions is not as easy as it seems. There are people who do that for a living because they will read the story and they will have, because they have a flair for condensing and knowing what to bring to light and what not to. There are entire categories of writers who do nothing but book descriptions. So if you're doing your own, make sure you give it the attention that it deserves. With the right strategy, your book description can be a powerful tool to attract readers. And kind of visualize it like, when you go to the movies and you see the movie trailers, it's the same thing. It's what's going to attract your in a movie trailer, your viewer, but in a book, the description is what will attract your readers. So give them what they're looking for so that they can get the rest of it. All right, guys, I'm Sydney Brown. I look forward to hearing from you. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like the videos, and drop a comment in the comments below for me and let me know what you thought of this, what your favorite tip is, and if there's anything else that you'd like to hear about. All right, thanks a lot. Have a great day.